What is the basic unit of an economy? Is it a dollar, a worker, a trade? All that and more coming up. Hello again and welcome to another episode of healthpolicy101.com, where we discuss and understand healthcare economics and policy in the US. Let's review 5 basic concepts of economics that everyone should know. And later we'll also talk about the 5 myths to be wary of. Number 1, the basic unit of economy. Value creation is the basic unit of an economy. When Stone Age men shaped a spear tip from stones in the ground, they actually produced value or wealth, because arguably the spear tip is more valuable than the combined value of the stone utilized and the labor that went into shaping it. On the other hand, if a person spends their entire life on shaping a stone into a single spear tip, well, that's not an economic activity, even if you get the spear tip for free, because the value of the spear tip is now less than the sum of values of the stone and the human capital that went into its production. Without creation of value, there is no economic growth possible. Number 2, specialization. We don't actually produce every item that we consume. Instead, every person specializes in a few facets of value creation. They then produce huge amounts of specific goods or services, far more than they can personally consume. For example, when a clerk arranges milk cartons in a store, well, he's creating value, but not for himself. He doesn't admire the milk he's arranging day after day. He's doing so for others. Now, this specialization allows each person to create far greater value than if each person tried to produce every item that they needed. Number 3, trade. Specialization is sustainable only because we also engage in trade, whereby we exchange valuable goods or services that we've produced for other valuable produce from other people. Now, this is a mutually beneficial activity. Accordingly, trade wars are mutually harmful. You can win a trade war, but you'll also have casualties. The more allies you have in a trade war against one enemy, the more likely you are to be successful. But if you get into a trade war with everybody, well, you're definitely going to lose. Number 4, money. Actually, bartering goods in trade every day could be very cumbersome, and we use money to facilitate trade. Money is defined as an entity that we accept in trade merely because it will be accepted by another person in trade in exchange for goods that we desire. Number 5, money. Money serves us another useful function. We use it as a unit of measure of the value of the various disparate goods and services, as well as resources and means of production in a society. To make good decisions, for example, in healthcare, we need to gauge the value of medical education, healthcare services, and indeed, even human life. Money helps communicate the values of these things. Bad things happen when we expend resources of greater value to attain an outcome that is worth a lesser monetary value. It's just like the caveman who spent his entire life shaping one spear tip. To be clear, we do not condone valuing another person's life in dollars. We're merely acknowledging that in a perpetually resource-scarce world, people place a dollar value on their own life. For example, Mr. Smith, an 85-year-old man with colon cancer, may wonder if he should spend $30,000 on immunotherapy to extend his life by 6 months. Or should he help his granddaughter with a down payment on her house? Money is a good way to convey the concerns of this choice. Okay, so let's have you please put some money on the like button there. If you would want others to see this video and for us to keep making more content, please hit the like button. Now, before we review 5 economic myths, let's recap what we've just discussed. The first step in an economy is people actually producing value. Step 2 is them specializing in certain aspects of the economy to maximize their productivity. Step 3 is people engaging in free trade that's necessary if we're going to specialize. Step 4 is money as the facilitator of trade in a society. And step 5 is also money because it gives a numerical way to compare the various choices that are part of everyone's life. And that, folks, is 95% of what there is to understand about an economy. Our next 5 points are about busting some myths that people have when they talk about the economy. So myth number 1 is, again, money. I know I know this is getting a bit confusing, but the point is that as powerful as money is in an economy, it is still at step 5 in the process, not number 1. You see, a policy that gives people more money but decreases their productivity tends to lead them to greater poverty. Examples of such policies are unemployment benefits and minimum wage laws. Also, when we start talking about money, as in bank balances, incomes, interest rates, and debt, we're not talking about the economy anymore. No, we're talking about finance and ledger entries. Of course, economists are allowed to use the word dollar, but they use it as a measure of actual goods or services. For example, a car worth $20,000. Before we move on to myth number 2, did you put some dollars on the like button there? Don't hold back. Myth number 2, creating jobs. A society cannot become prosperous if none of its people actually do any work. But work is still a cost in the economic ledger, not a benefit. One must not be enamored by the ability of politicians to create jobs. The greater number of jobs and work needed to generate a given economic output, the lesser value has been created. Unfortunately, US healthcare industry is a good example of this. Over 20 million Americans, almost 1 in 8 of the total American workforce, is engaged in the healthcare industry. Despite engaging far more Americans in the healthcare industry, we do not have any greater longevity or markedly better healthcare outcomes than our peer nations, nor are troves of foreigners flying into every American hospital to pay top dollar for American healthcare. The conclusion is that we are not producing a greater value of healthcare commensurate with our utilization of human capital. Indeed, a meaningful reform of healthcare in the US will transition of people out of the healthcare industry. Consider another example. It may be beneficial to transition from fossil fuels to using wind energy. But the fact that this transition will need a great number of people to work in the wind energy industry than are employed today is not a benefit of this mandate. It is a cost of this mandate. It would be far better if we could make this transition with the wave of a magic wand without needing to work for it. Myth number 3, demand. Politicians also like to dictate how they can increase retail demand for goods and services by printing money to stimulate the economy. But the truth is that, well, we'd love to have a bungalow and a private island and a yacht to get there. My fulfillment is limited by the production of goods and services. Printing money and creating demand merely misleads people to expect goods and services that don't even exist because they haven't been produced yet. As this happens, prices rise and scarcity is revealed as the true limiting factor in our economic prosperity. Myth number 4, economy is not important. How can money or economy be more important than healthcare or housing or education? As Mr. Smith's example before demonstrated, living a fulfilling and economically prosperous life has many facets: healthcare, housing, food, education, entertainment, and freedom of choice. A thriving and free economy allows everyone to optimize the utilization of resources available to them to maximize their own prosperity. Also, it is well documented that during recessions, people bear less children. Suicides and drug abuse also rise in these situations, and modern wars are won by the strongest economy. Therefore, one should never dismiss the economic impact of a policy as merely a number. A bad economy should be interpreted as lives lost. Economy is not secondary to healthcare or education or even lives. Number 5, taxes and government, debt and inflation. Many people have a preference among the particular ways in which the government raises revenue, either by raising taxes or debt or by printing money. Truth is that economically all these modalities have the same impact: to transfer the control of societal resources from individual people to the collective government. Whether this is beneficial or not depends on what the government does with these resources. If the government can run an Amazon-like enterprise, offering a product valued by millions at more than the resources put into it, it benefits the economy. But if it runs a Solyndra-like enterprise, well, it causes economic harm. Unfortunately, government enterprises are uniquely opaque to any accounting of how beneficial or harmful they may be economically. Consider the Veterans Affairs medical system. In 2021, it will utilize resources worth $240 billion US. But what is the fair market value of the medical services that will be provided to the veterans? Is it $100 billion or is it $300 billion? Similarly, in 2018, the Medicare program oversaw the consumption of $731 billion worth of resources to deliver healthcare to our seniors. It's anybody's guess what the true dollar value was of healthcare so produced and delivered. Therefore, we don't know if it would have been better to simply give away the funding of these programs to the beneficiaries directly so that private citizens can utilize these resources directly. So there you have it. 10 basic economic principles to apply before you vote for a policy. What do you think? Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe.